Hi everyone, this is Rohan Iyer, your host and host for today's webinar on our big blogging contest. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. So if you are a marketer or if you're an agency or blogger, an individual or just interested in marketing, and if you have a blog, we at SEMrush have a great new opportunity for you. And this is called the SEMrush Big Blogging Contest. For the first time in India, we are bringing you a contest geared at marketers to help prove themselves. You know what we tell our clients? We always tell them that we are great at marketing and we can do this, we can do that, we create good content, we promote it for you. But this is your opportunity when you want to prove the best for yourself. And so we have come up with this big blogging contest, and the first prize is a MacBook Pro. It's the rules are very simple. It's as easy as one, two, three. Write a post, promote it, and win a MacBook. But the execution, of course, is not so simple. So we are open to like 200 participants. You have the opportunity to select from 100 different blogging topics, and these are on a lot of different areas all related to marketing. You can choose from content strategy, marketing automation, CRO, e-commerce, B2B marketing, SaaS, AI, business intelligence, whatever works with marketing. We have the topic for you. So whatever is your forte, you can enter and just write a post on it and give your entry to us and see how well you can promote it. And we have a great panel of judges. We have 6 experts from the digital marketing industry who are going to review your posts and tell you how good you are really. So the purpose of this webinar today is to give you a few tips and tricks on how you can win, what you can do better. For the participants who have already submitted their entries, we are going to invite a few judges and they will tell you what exactly you are doing wrong and what you can do better to have better chances of winning this contest. So we were supposed to have Don Anderson, Nitin Manchanda, and Craig. Craig is right here with us. We are waiting for Don, and unfortunately, Nitin is under the weather. Many of you know him. He runs our SEO surgery webinar series, but today he's not feeling that well. So, but Craig is here to give us tips and tricks on how to do better at blogging and winning this contest. So, Craig, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I was going to say I'm not feeling too well, but yeah,
Right. So we have chosen 3 blogging topics today. And Craig, would you like to introduce yourself first? Craig is a web digital marketing trainer, and he's very experienced in this industry. And he's been here for 15 to 20 years now, Craig?
17.
17 years. Yeah. So would you like to tell our Indian audience something more about yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name's Craig. I'm based in Scotland. Sorry about the accent. I'll just apologise for that just now. And I've been in the digital marketing industry for a long time, and I've done the whole, starting off working from home. I've built up an agency, and now I'm doing a lot of training, consultancy, and affiliate marketing stuff. So that's where I find myself at the moment. It's just what's comfortable for me in life. I enjoy the affiliate side of it and blogging and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm doing that now and hopefully also giving back by helping other people as well.
Great. So finally, we have Don here with us too. Don, hello.
Hi, Rohan. Hi, Craig. How are you? Can you hear
So
me?
you are live now, Don. Great, you could join us, and people are watching you, and
Hi,
we are
everybody.
great to have you. So quickly, could you introduce? So Dawn is again very experienced in the digital marketing industry, and she runs an agency. Is it Move It Marketing? And she
Yeah.
also, yeah, she's also a lecturer at the Manchester Metropolitan University. So
Yeah.
over to Dawn. Could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you for asking me. As Rohan said, yes, my name's Dawn Anderson. I run an agency, which is really more of a consultancy, rather like Craig's. I don't choose to have loads of staff, etc. So it's kind of quite boutique. Been doing search and SEO since 2006, so quite a long time now. In 2012, I decided to expand into other digital channels, and I went and took a master's and a postgrad, and then I started lecturing at the university as well. Because as we know, everything fits together now, and SEO doesn't operate in a silo. So yeah, which makes it all really exciting and interesting. Yeah, so here I am.
Great. So we have two of our experts and judges who are going to be auditing 3 blog post entries for you today. And we'll give Dawn some time to breathe, and Craig can start off with the first one. Craig, shall we get on with the post from healthwealthbridge.com, which the topic is video content rising, our text contents days numbered. So Craig is going to go through the post and analyze it for you, and maybe share your screen, Craig, and tell us what's wrong with it or what they can do better to have for better chances at winning this contest.
Of course, no problem at all. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Cool. So it is the healthwealthbridge.com website. Sorry, I was scrolling down to the bottom of it earlier, just checking the full article out. So this is the one that was given to me to audit, and in general, the blog post is fine. I mean, well, it's fine in terms of a blog post being put live on a website, if you like. Obviously, what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a blog post, or one of the first things I look at, is what keywords is that blog post targeting? Because for me, I think a lot of people write blogs and don't take it into consideration what they're trying to, how they're going to drive traffic to that blog post. And one of the first things is finding the right keywords to rank well. So the first thing I look at is the title tag and the title of the blog. And we can see here, the title of the blog is Video Content Rising, our text content day numbered. Now, that isn't something that's going to get a lot of search. What you would tend to do here is be found for something that is going to drive traffic in, whether that's, you know, video content marketing or tips on video content marketing or various other keywords. And obviously you can go into SEMrush and do your keyword research. You know, if you put in video marketing, you'll certainly be thrown up with a lot of different keywords. Obviously, you'd have to select the relevant country here, but you know, there's loads of different keywords that you can choose from, and that's what I would choose to put as my header of the blog. Here, this has just been thrown up without any real consideration for you know, the keyword that it's going to rank for, in my opinion. Or, you know, you look at the title tag as well. You know, it's not something I would consider, you know, particularly SEO friendly. It's also got Health Wealth Bridge in there. You know, with a title tag, you only have 60 characters to use. There's absolutely no need to use the blog name Health Wealth Bridge in the title tag. And I get, you know, obviously your title tag's one of the most powerful on-page elements as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, again, there should be a keyword there. But, you know, so keyword consideration is very, very important, because that's, you know, you're not blogging to tell your friends down the pub that you've got 3 blog posts this week. You want your blog post to rank well and stuff like that to get traffic on them. So from that point of view, I think that's one of the mistakes. Secondly, you know, going through the structure of a blog post, you know, what I tend to do is firstly focus on the title tag, but secondly, what I tend to do is then go through my header tags, which are throughout the content, and catch a variation of other keywords. So you've obviously got here some of the header tags. Video content is rising, but the video is an excellent format for many things. So again, there's not really any kind of optimization going on with the header tags on the actual article. Also, if I look at the source codes on the header tags, they're using header 3 tags throughout their website. I'm not sure the reasoning for just using header 3 tags throughout the content are either. I mean, I'm going to say something that not everyone might agree with here, but obviously, as far as I'm concerned, header 2 tags are the ones that are seen as most important by Google. I think header 1 tags, you know, were great back in the day, and I think people spammed that kind of stuff to death, and I think you get more effect using header 2 tags, and that's what I do throughout my blog posts. Is I'll just use header 2 tags catching variations of keywords, and that works very well for me. They've used header 3 tags in this instance, and I feel that, you know, they could have used header 2 tags or whatever, but also they could have used keywords here, you know, just different variations of keywords to try and get, you know, more keywords into, you know, for this article to rank for. So that's another thing that I'm not overly impressed with the blog post. In terms of the content and stuff like that, you know, I have put it through Copyscape, and the content is unique, so that's obviously a good sign. So writing your own content is also really important from an SEO point of view. So, you know, a big plus there, the content is unique. But let me get back to the article. You know, what they do lack, though, within the article as well, they're doing a lot of outbound links, but they're not doing a hell of a lot of internal linking. And if you guys are looking for tips on internal linking, I'm not going to sit and repeat what others have said over the years. If you look for a guy called Andy Drinkwater, he's got a great internal linking guide on his website, which will explain to you how to do good internal linking. There's not a huge amount of internal linking you're on here or within the website in general. So I think you do also have to make sure that you are using your internal links on your blog posts wisely. In terms of, you know, everything else on there, it's just full of text and images. What I tend to do to break up the boredom of a blog article would be to add some form of video guide or tutorial or whatever it may be, or even, you know, yourself talking. You know, you've got some images here to break up the text, but, you know, a video, as far as I'm concerned, people respond to videos a lot better than they do pictures and text. You know, I think the attention span with a lot of people is very low, and, you know, adding a video in there, just a quick guide, or you know, even you speaking, just to break up the, you know, some people might even just want to hear what you're saying rather than read what you're saying. So I think that's something you could consider, but obviously not something, you know, I would fault anyone for. In terms of social shares and stuff like that, the blog clearly has 142 shares. A lot of them are coming from Pinterest. And I think when I'm looking at blog posts, I think people, you know, I think getting it out there on social media and stuff like that is important, you know, just to get traffic on there. And that works very well. What I tend to do personally when I do a blog post is I'll tend to boost it on Facebook to a targeted audience. You know, whether that be people who, I don't always use my Facebook pixel, but mostly it would just be people who are interested. But another tip that I want to share with you guys that works very well for me is Quora. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have done Quora paid ads in the past. I'm just going to show you what I was doing and how cheap it was. So Quora, I think it was this one here. I'm just going to get the stats up. So all time. So Quora was something I tried out, and I spent $122, as you can see here, and I get 2,000 clicks. So it was 6 pence a click, and it was just a YouTube video. It was a video that was a recording of a talk I done, and I find that, you know, putting your ads out on Quora can certainly get a lot of traffic, clicks, and all that kind of stuff. So Quora is another tip to market your blog post as well, to get a lot of clicks, because what happens is you put your blog out there, and it's there for anyone to see who goes onto your blog. But what helps it rank is obviously the keywords and various other things. And click-through rate is also something I find is a ranking factor and works very well for me. So I think by putting it out to Quora, Facebook, and the likes works very well. And it gets that kind of instant kind of traffic onto the blog post, gets the click-through rate going, and you start to see it rising up. Obviously, what you want to do is then start to get backlinks to your blog post as well. But obviously, this blog post doesn't have a huge amount of backlinks that are flagging up yet, but the blog post was only put up on the 9th of December. So that may be something that you are actively doing. They've just yet to pull through on the tools and whatnot. But, you know, backlinking is something that will obviously push that up to get you know, higher rankings and good organic traffic. But I think certainly in terms of marketing your blog, paid social is a good, well, not always paid social. You can also just put it out on social media, which you have done. But I think paid social is a good way to get other eyes onto it, maybe eyes that are not on your social channels or whatnot. And obviously that can help grow your social audience and stuff as well, so that anything you do promote in future, these guys may be able to see it organically. So in terms of the blog post in general, I don't think it's anything that's outrageously bad. I think there's just a few tweaks there that I would be making to ensure that it gets found organically, and a few tips, you know, certainly on the paid social side to get some instant traffic onto it. And as I say, the internal linking, something you do want to have a look at, and possibly a video. So there, you know, other than that, it's, you know, a good blog post. It's you know, unique. A lot of people will tell you that a blog post should be 2,000 words plus long, which, you know, in my opinion isn't the case. You know, write as much as you have to write to get the point across, but you know, you don't have to. But this one is fairly substantial in terms of length as well, so it's a good blog post. I just, with a few tweaks, I think, you know, it could go a bit further. So that would be my opinion on that.
Great. So that was so many insights from Craig. Don, do you have anything to add to that?
I thought, when I looked at it, I did think that there were parts of it which could have been a little bit better structured. For me, a blog post doesn't have to just be optimized for SEO. At the end of the day, it can rank, but ultimately, if people don't find it engaging and interesting, I thought it was useful. I thought there could have been a little bit better structuring in terms of, some of it looked a little bit over SEO'd a little bit to me, as though they were trying to kind of, the sole purpose was to rank for something rather than to actually share really engaging and interesting content. Although it was good, as Craig said, it was a good piece. You can see that they're getting the shares going. It does look like a lot of it. Looking on their share count tool, it does look, as Craig said, as though a lot of them are just pins and stuff at the minute. But yeah, I mean, certainly it looked to me as though it just needed a little bit more refinement and a little less SEO-ing, if you like, from my perspective.
Yeah, even I found that it needs to be a bit more convincing and conversational at the users. For example, a small tip that I could give them is the conclusion says something like takeaway, but the topic of the post, if you see, is video content rising, is our text days numbered. So they could change it, the conclusion, the subheading, to something like the verdict. So is the verdict, is text going to die, or is video content going to, I mean, to go off as a fad? Now, the verdict that the author gives is that text will survive, but she says that I feel video content is rising. Now, you be more convincing than that to your users, and you say that, okay, video content might be rising, but text is here to stay, and like that's what makes your content more engaging. So I think that will be one of the factors that you guys are going to look at while judging them, right?
What I was going to say is, let's put it this way. I mark dissertations, master's dissertations at the university, and
Uh-huh.
one of the main points for getting the highest marks is the ability to be critical, i.e., you look at both sides of the argument, especially with a title like the one that was on that blog post, which is it's kind of an opinion piece. When you ask a question, there needs to be an answer at the end of it. And the answer needs to be based around the body of evidence on both sides. And actually, we see that, a lot of the pieces that are ranking in search nowadays tend to have both sides of the coin because, as we know, the search engines are trying to fight against bias. Yeah. So, two arguments for and against a balanced body of evidence, where she could say, the argument for text remaining is this, blah, 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 these sources, and so on and so forth, and the video side of it as well. And then, based upon, all of what we've seen here, this is the verdict, as you said. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to our next entry, which is from website tipstricks.com. And Don is going to be auditing that post, and it is titled Marketing Automation Meet Customer. It's about driving engagement on autopilot. Is that even possible? So we have this blog post here. Don, would you like to share your screen and throw some light on it, what they can do better?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bear with me a
Yeah.
second. Okay. So, can you see my screen? Yeah. Can you
Yes.
see it? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay. So, whilst grammar is not the be all and end all in these things, it does help because some people out there still like to read things and will pick up on, grammar and so forth. Yeah. So, um, if we were to mark all these pieces of content that are coming through, for me, grammar would still be one of the items that I would have to say it's got to be, it's got to be marked. And I would say in this, they really need to look at polishing up the grammar for a start. Yeah. So, for instance, they don't use things like commas, which make a difference to the intonation and the prosody of a sentence. For instance, if you're a digital marketer, comma, you've probably heard of a term, dash marketing, or dash marketing automation. And then I would do something like bold to make things stand out. I would use something like, I know Craig said H2s and H3s, etc. I'm a fan of using all of the H's because we know that people have kind of spammed them to death for years through SEO, but ultimately the H1 to H6s, they were built for accessibility so that people can understand where page content breaks down into sections. So we've used them for SEO, but they're not for SEO. They're for, understanding and structure. Yeah. So I would be using things like H3s on sentences like, or even a H2 on, but what does marketing automation mean? Because that's quite a big section. Taking it back a little bit, we can see that they have got shares. Again, I ran it through social share count. The vast majority of these are just from pins at the moment in time. So it looks a little bit better than it actually is. It's kind of a little bit inflated. Doesn't look like anything's been shared on Facebook, but as Craig said, there's only a couple of days in. So plenty of time. There's no links to it at this point. Although there is links to other pages on this website, and actually they could boost this by utilizing the internal link structure from those pages that have got links into this, yeah, to lift it or link it from prominent pages like homepage and so on and so forth. So, so look at this sentence. You see this, I'm pointing here. So I'm sure that most of the people relating this term only to email marketing sequences or automated social sharing, social media sharing, that should be comma and nothing else. Seems pedantic, but actually, it's how you read these things. Yeah, you need to enjoy it. Is it limited to these couple of things, comma or have a bigger picture? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, or does it have a? Is there a bigger picture? Does it have a bigger picture, etc. Yeah. So what I would do is what I usually say to my students take this away and ask somebody to proofread it for you. Somebody who is not you, because when we look at these things ourselves, we often think, oh, this is perfect. And obviously we have our own way of writing these things. And even, I make spelling mistakes, and obviously I'm quite a bit older and I've had a lot of practice at spelling, but there's certain words, however old you are, you still struggle to spell. So like maneuver is my one. I really struggle to spell the word maneuver. So you're better off not looking at it yourself over and over again and get somebody else to just, or maybe a couple of people to just proofread it for you. Yeah. But I like the fact that it has got all this structure, yeah, here. And I love table of contents, and what we are seeing, and we see this in Google Search Console as well, is the fragments on these often come up now in pages. And I know that Cindy Crum talked a lot about these fraggles, which are page sections almost that Google's making people jump to. I use these on some parts of my sites on things that are well segmented. And this is where the H1, 2, and 3 kicks in, because on table of contents, that's a H1, that's a H2, that's a H3. Yeah. So that breakdown we see actually in Google Search Console now under queries. So it's almost like Google's picking out these bits that are relevant as parts of the page, sending the user directly to that, or extracting it as data. Does that make sense? So these are really recommended, this table of contents. I know that on WordPress you can have it so it's like that, and then you can set it, because sometimes that's kind of a little bit too much, yeah. But those are really useful, and I think that this is kind of part of the new way of us consuming content. In the past, we'd have thought, oh my God, that's so ugly. But actually, we have this notion now of task-driven search. People want to get straight to the part of the page that they want to, we're thinking about mobile. People don't want to have to read everything. You have to have jump tos. So I really like that. I think that's useful on all content. I think overall, this is really well structured as well. A few things that I would question in that they talk about some concepts which actually are in dispute quite ferociously in the world of SEO, and they should make note of that. For instance, there's quite a raging debate about the notion of LSI, whether Google uses LSI, latent semantic indexing. I know that Bill talked a lot about the fact that Google had never said they use LSI, and actually it was Bell Labs that produced a patent around that. So they talk about this here. Not a fan of like pushing things around that actually there's not real evidence for. So it kind of just spreads the untruths or the unsupported. So we know that synonyms are useful. Just be careful that you don't start talking about things that actually just spread rumours rather than truths. Yeah, I do like the fact that actually they've got some good sources in here that they mention. They link to things like, if you're gonna, you need to kind of be a bit careful that you put things in quotes if it is a source, otherwise it's not proper citation. So that and actually also as well, if you're going to have sources, I would add references, proper references at the bottom. Yeah, if you're going to do proper citations, which for me adds credibility. I love these pieces actually that actually support their argument rather than harvesting link equity, etc. And I like the fact that it had these things like the infographic, which we know that, for instance, if you use this notion of stock and flow to push social sharing to this piece, you might, for instance, add this as part of your, or a piece of this as part of your blog post or your tweet or whatever that's going to push content or push traffic to it in this kind of the flow is obviously things like the micro posts or the blog posts or the Facebook posts or the tweets and so forth, because we know that images on social shares get a huge amount of increased engagement over just a text-based tweet. So all the assets are there. It's really useful. I liked it overall. I thought it was a really good contender. They need to brush up the grammar. Yeah, I see that they have got the summary. You know, we mentioned about having a conclusion, so that was really useful as well. And they've also managed to get a little bit of engagement, even though it's fairly early on. They're starting to get some comments on there. Let's hope that these are genuine people. And I think, yeah, they should really nurture that conversation. So yeah, I thought overall this was a really good piece. But you know, maybe it's being pedantic, but for me, grammar, they should run it through some grammar checkers. Grammarly is a good one, and yeah, Copyscape, it was okay. It was really just the cookies thing that came up, which is nothing. So yeah, what do you think, Craig?
Yeah, thank you. That was a great audit. I'm a grammar Nazi too. So yes, I think that grammar is very important. While because this is like you're targeting content marketers, right? Then getting your content grammar is core to getting your content or your message across to your audience. I would like to ask you, Don, does Google, it's a common question from content marketing beginners. So does the quality of your grammar influence how Google ranks you? I mean, does Google look
No,
for good quality posts in terms of grammar or spellings?
no, it doesn't. John Mueller said this. They have algorithms in place anyway to correct things like spelling mistakes and you know, to understand the difference between spelling mistakes. But I'm talking about content for humans here, yeah. Because for me, a post is not necessarily going to be judged. A post has to be engaging. A post has to be, for me, to be respectful, it has to be grammatically correct. I think it doesn't take 2 minutes to ask somebody else to check things over. We know, for instance, there are, you know, you look in search actually, when we type a query in with the spelling error in, one of the algorithms that runs is the one that says, did you mean blah, 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 and the spelling correction is there. And then there's double metaphor, SoundX algorithms in place. There are algorithms in there. But we know, for instance, that on voice search, which a lot of these long form pieces answer questions on, you have to be much better at grammar and spelling. And that is in the voice raters guides, yeah. It has to be spot on because the same algorithms don't seem to apply to voice driven search, yeah. And that is actually
so just to be perfect, I mean, it's better, right, always that to have your grammar and spelling right than to not have, because everything else being equal, if you want to connect better to your customers or your audience, then of course you need to get your spelling and grammar right, and that it makes your content that bit more trustworthy. And once if people think that okay, you might be technically good, but if you're not explaining it to me properly, then what's the use? I have this other site I can move on to. So that's a very important point. So Craig, would you like to add anything to this post? Any tips from you?
I mean, I think Don covered it very well. You know, I think the blog post in general was very good. Infographics used well, and table of contents I quite like myself. But again, I'm not like the grammar police. You know, my grammar's not the best in the world, so I'm probably not in a position to criticise. But what I would say is, in the past, I've had stuff out there, and people have messaged me saying, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And, you know, they've said, like, you know, basically not trusted what I've been saying because of poor grammar. So it can happen. I have got bad grammar. You know, I do have Grammarly, and I do try and do what Don suggests and get other people to check over my content. Obviously, I can write, but grammar is just certainly, when I type, I'm always rushing. And, you know, I think a lot of people doing blogs and stuff are probably similar, where I can be doing a blog, then I'll get dragged away on the phone, I'll come back and mistakes happen. So I think it's definitely a wise choice to have someone else read over it and just make sure that, you know, it's up to date. There's technology and tools and everything out there to try and keep on top of it. And Grammarly is one of my favourite tools. So definitely use that, because as you know, someone said to me, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, and if you're trying to make your name in the blogging world, and put content out there and make yourself an expert, then you know no one's going to believe someone or trust someone who can barely write. And I'm not suggesting that you can barely write on that particular article, but you know there's certain people out there who are obsessive over that, and it can cause problems.
Hemingway. Sorry, I was just going to say, Hemingway is also another good app to use on this, because a lot of the sentences were also very long. Again, we know that the voice and conversational search going forward, I know everybody went a bit nuts about voice search this past year, and we haven't really seen it come through yet, but for conversational agents, short sentences are best. And also from an accessibility perspective, you know, accessibility.gov we talk about writing for a 9-year-old, short sentences, because our grammar and our vocabulary doesn't expand much beyond 9 years old, you know. So we need to write for 9-year-olds. Cut some of these sentences up,
I also noticed the table at the top of the post, as you said. So would that help them get an answer box in the search results, or maybe more featured snippets? What do you guys think?
I'll tell you what I seem to see. When you have these table of contents, you get it's almost like data snippets. Those you'll see them in the search results quite a bit now. They're almost like little mini site links, So you see it often on events listings, so where it's being extracted, that's that. I mean, H2s, H3s, and so forth, they are a form of data. They are semi-structured data. They turn an unstructured. Well, no web page is totally unstructured, because a website has structure, and things like BM25F uses structure, but it actually will help, because it's almost adds like these little side links in search results. So they're likely to get people going straight to the content that the people are looking for. You see it in search now.
Yep. Thank you for that. So let's quickly move on to our third and final entry here today, which is from digitaladvertisingreview.com. And the topic of the post is, so you know your audience, now what? Since Nitin is not here with us today, Craig and Don both are going to provide a few insights on this post. Craig, do you want to go first, please?
Yeah, of course, no problem. Just share the screen again. So the website is digitaladvertisingreview.com. So this is an example of a blog post. You know, I wouldn't consider this a hugely engaging blog post. You know, it looks kind of it's not very well done, in my opinion. It's I don't like the look of the website in general. But you know, the header up there, for me, I mean, the content wise and stuff like that, digital works differently. They've got information, you know, Facebook insights and stuff like that, taking you off the website fairly early on in the, you know, on the article. You know, a couple of pictures are breaking it up, and then you go down. It's just it's very short as well. It's not hugely insightful. It's got no social shares. It's got no comments. It's got no nothing. And for me, you know, obviously we've went over a couple of blogs there, and I don't want to keep repeating the same stuff. But you know, certainly, if I look at this article and I scroll down quickly and see that it's got no engagement, I'm instantly put off. You know, I'm not even going to waste my time reading it. You know, it is only a week old, so it's maybe a bit unfair to say, you know, that's it, you know, it's not getting any shares and it's not getting any comments or whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, you have to do something. You can get that stuff out to your friends and whatnot. So, you know, there are groups on Facebook and stuff like that as well. So if I've got a tweet, for example, that I want to share, there's a group there where there's a collection of 10 or 15 different people who will also like and retweet that stuff. And I think that kind of, and although that is not organic and it's not great to do that because people are just promoting your stuff because it's your friend or whatever, it certainly buys trust. And I would try and also encourage conversation down here. There's no point in having that box there and it's saying no comments yet. Again.
So, sorry, I would like to quickly interrupt. And I know for a fact that this post here, you see the author is Ropek, and he is a good friend of mine, and he runs an agency in India called o3mdm.com. So would you advise them that to put the blog post on the agency website, which is bigger or has a better reach, and not on this particular blog? I think that would be a key to do better with this post.
Yeah, I mean, the content itself is not outrageously bad, but if you've got your own website, I don't see there being any point in you adding unique content to another source unless this blog post gets a particularly outrageous amount of traffic. Then great. I don't particularly know this website or the background behind it. If it's indeed getting a lot of traffic, then there's nothing wrong with it. Get on here. I just don't like the structure, the look of the website itself. But certainly if they've got a good blog that's also getting a lot of traffic, I would want to add this kind of stuff onto my own blog and feed my own blog and power up my own blog rather than a third party blog. That would be my opinion on that. But it's entirely up to yourself. That doesn't mean that I've never personally published content on the likes of SEMrush's blog. The reason I would do that is obviously to get traffic from SEMrush onto my kind of stuff, or any other blog for that matter. So obviously I don't know, as I say, I don't know the background behind this particular website, but if it gets traffic, then it could be worthwhile. But certainly I wouldn't be wasting too much time doing that in a hell of a lot of websites. It's, digital advertising review India looks like a review website, and it doesn't have a huge amount of blog posts on it anyway, so I don't think it's a saturated particular website. But I certainly wouldn't be putting my website on something that's going to get buried very quickly. But as I say, I think you've got to kind of encourage conversation on your blogs and get the social share thing right, as well as doing everything else, a well-structured blog post, and offering engaging content here. And for, as I say, I don't want to repeat everything that, I've said earlier or what Don said, but having a well-structured blog is important. But sometimes I think the engagement can certainly, encourage more people to have a look at it and read it. And for me, that's not apparent on here. But it's obviously part of a blogging contest, and it's something that's only a week old, and it might be part of your process to push that stuff out earlier on to your social media or encourage conversation or whatever it may be. I would certainly be doing that as I roll it out. As I said earlier, rolling it out in Quora, getting a few shares, getting a few likes from Facebook and all that kind of stuff as well would be exactly where I would be at on day one when I roll out a blog post. So yeah, I don't think certainly the content on it is particularly bad, but I certainly think taking people off of websites straight away here and stuff like that, taking them away from your blog post is never a good thing. It's obviously good to have external links and obviously internal links where relevant throughout your blog post, but yeah, there's it could be a lot better. And as I say, it's not outrageously bad. It's got images breaking it up again, which I like, but it's just not that well laid out, if I'm being honest.
Cool. Quite a few suggestions there for the blog. Don, you want to add anything to that?
Yes. Again, I agree completely with Craig on this. A few things stood out for me. Again, sentences were way too long. It was very, very wordy. It took me a while to actually understand what the article was about. It didn't seem to come to any kind of point very early on, and the title was not optimized for anything. And there's loads of these blog posts out there. We see them all over the place. They're never going to rank for anything because they don't focus on anything. They don't have a focus. Yeah, they talk about digital being different. They talk about paid ads. They talk about it's just really, there's no central core to this. They talk about things that are coming in 2019. I know everybody gets sick of seeing what are the predictions for 2019, all this carry on. But I think actually, I personally read them because I want to see what's coming next. This could have been turned into a piece that's around, this is what we think is going to be happening in 2019, because it talks about it here. But this bit at the top, for instance, it's just very wordy clutter that doesn't actually come to any kind of point around digital whatsoever. As Craig said as well, I didn't think I thought the site looked a bit old-fashioned. Now, when we're comparing it with modern sites that have much bigger fonts, better for accessibility, things are well spaced out. This is very cramped and not that easy to read overall. But I mean, that's not the author, that's the website itself. Again, I think he might be best suited to actually publish this on his own site, if that's more modern. I'm quite a fan actually of, I like these kind of screen grabs. I'm a fan of the animated, self-created images that are on a lot of sites as well that you can create. But as I say, there's really not a great deal of focus whatsoever. It doesn't have a table of contents. That is just, well, that's the most too generic that there's any kind of central heading or whatever. Yeah. So no focus. Yeah, that needs to be fixed.
Right. So so this particular blog post, the priority for them is to get focus and probably make it look better, as the first impression is the last impression. So yes, so we are quickly through these three sites, and I hope we get a lot more entries for this blogging contest. So Craig and Don, it's going to be a lot of work for you guys to do if we get a lot of entries, but it's going to be fun, I'm sure. And we also have a couple of questions from the audience. We talked here about too much of content. So someone is asking that how do we hook the audience with a blog post that is so long?
Storytelling. You have to use storytelling. There's a really interesting notion. I think there's 6 different types of stories you can tell. And also, I think you have to make it clear right from the start what your piece is. For instance, the first piece, or the piece I looked at, the middle one, that needs to be clear that it's kind of a guide. Yeah, it's a guide. And it has to be, the sections, the jump to sections, very clear. Not everybody will want to read it all. But the storytelling is kind of, for me, also what keeps people hooked. If you're going to do a blog, you have to build it up into a crescendo. As I say, I can't remember what they all are, but there's like 5 or 6 different types of stories you can tell. And it's pretty well known amongst journalists, this. I'll see if I can find it, and hopefully you can share it with the audience afterwards. There is 6 or 7 different types of story.
Right. Craig, what's your tip for the writers to hook their audience?
I mean, for me, I think you've got to, similar to what Don's saying, you've got to initially tell people what the article's about. There's no point in, telling a story and going a long-winded way about talking about a lot of crap. You have to make it out that this is going to be a guide about, Facebook advertising or whatever right from the start, but then go into the kind of storytelling mode and expand upon it. But there's obviously got to be humour in there or whatever. It's got to keep people engaged. And but what I tend to do is keep it very direct. When I do anything, even when it's talking, I go very, very direct. I mean, I get the storytelling and adding humour. That's all part of the thing as well. But I think hitting the points home, through there and offering actionable tips or advice is what people are looking for when they're reading a blog post, in particular with digital marketing. So you have to keep them interested, and obviously tell them the story leading up to it, but don't drag it out for too long to the point where it gets boring. So I think you've got to slam home tips throughout, actionable stuff throughout the article to keep them reading. But as Don says, storytelling is the big part of it. Making it, I'm not going to say exciting or whatever. There's only so much excitement you can have, but you've got to keep people on there and keep them interested. And telling a good story and doing it that way is certainly a lot better than the old bland garbagey, talking a load of nonsense round about the points that you're talking about.
I found the 7 types of stories. Yeah, I found it here. As Craig said, you can't turn a guide into a story, but what you can do is start with one of these intros. So the story can be beginning at the end. Yeah. So for instance, you can have there's 7 types of stories according to Adweek, and pretty well known these. Yeah. Overcoming the monster, the type of story that goes, David and Goliath. A small brand beats a big brand. How are the small brands beating the big brands? Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. Rebirth, the story of renewal. You could say, hey, I was doing really badly at blogging, and then I decided to do this, and I thought, right, let's throw it all away and we'll start again. Blah blah blah. Quest, a mission from point A to B. That's the 3rd storyline. Right. Our quest today is to teach you how to do X. We're going to take you from this point to that point. Journey and return, a story about transformation through travel and homecoming. That's the 4th type, where you could talk about how, you did something with an audit, you started off, you're in this position, and do you see how you can weave these concepts of stories into beginning and end, and the middle bit is your blog post almost. Rags to riches, that's another one. Now, we see that all the time in a lot of the get rich quick things. I was poor and all of a sudden I'm earning £57 million a day. Tragedy, oh, my site was falling apart. And then comedy, where you can make a joke at the beginning and the end. And you see that in a lot of the really engaging blog posts, where there's like a comedic element, very natural. So you don't have to do it all the way through, but you can turn a dry subject into something that will hook people at the beginning, hook people at the end, and in the middle, keep it short and sweet, short sentences, bold things that stand out and spring out of the page to keep them going. Yeah, read on for this or read on for that to just keep people moving along.
Yeah, great way to keep them actually. So the question was about the hook, but you told them like the hook just brings the people onto the post, or something like clickbait, or even the first 2 or 3 sentences. But storytelling is what makes them read till the end, right? Another question we have here is, what is the future of content in 2019? Like, is it audio, video, graphics, or text? So this question begs for an answer that says it depends, but what is your take on it?
Well, it depends. Do you mind me answering this first, Craig? Yeah, is that all right? So we know that video is absolutely huge with some of the millennials and the next generations after that. Yeah, they don't, well, particularly on mobile. Think about it. Do you really want to read War and Peace on your mobile phone? Yeah, or a massive, huge blog post? Sometimes you just want to jump to the bits that are the video or the pictures or whatever. And it depends on the vertical as well. In fashion, for instance, blog posts are never really going to cut it that long and lengthy and huge. Yeah, occasionally you might get away with it if it's about London Fashion Week or the opinion of some sort of fashion expert. But mostly people are driven by images and video. And it was interesting presentations last year when we looked at the ranking studies by, all the different tool providers like SEMrush and SearchMetrics, where there was a different opinion. And Marcus Tober from SearchMetrics said, look, different content ranks in different verticals because that's what they want. In video, for instance, fitness is all about video and images. Fitspiration, Pinterest, that kind of thing. So I think also you have to think about the audience. What does the audience want? Your audience, particularly, yeah. And you have to tailor that content to their needs. But at the same time, I wouldn't ever limit myself to one type of content because we have this notion of repurposing. Content costs a lot of money. So we can use a blog post, turn it into a webinar, turn it into SlideShare, turn it into a series of images, turn it into whatever, yeah. And that's something that I'm just about to do with quite a lot of my older content that may become sometimes a little bit tired. You can recycle it, so upcycle it. That's my take on things.
I think what Don's saying there about recycling or whatever. What I've done in recent times is when I've been doing webinars, obviously talking a lot and stuff like that. That can still be turned into great content. And what I tend to do when I do a webinar is go to a website called rev.com, and it costs me $1 a minute to get that transcribed into content, and I can make it into a blog post. So when I'm talking and adding a video, I can also add the content there for people who prefer to read. Everyone's got different interests, and for me, I would prefer to watch a video or listen to a podcast than read. It's just a personal preference of mine. It's just easier to do, and you can, it's just more enjoyable for me. But I think you have to cater to your audiences. As Don says, like the fitness industry, is more about videos and whatnot, but you still can turn them into good blog posts if you want to use something like, you don't have to use rev.com. That's just one that I use. It's something you can look at, but there's other ways to get that stuff transcribed into content and make it a good blog post. So that's something I've done, works very well for me, and similar to Don, I'm going through old blog posts and seeing if I can add a video to them. So, sometimes I have in the past done blogs that are probably boring and no one's going to read, but if I add a video to it, it gets a bit more engagement. So recycling that stuff and just making it better is important. You don't always have to write new content. You can go back and make a particular blog post a lot better over time and just continually tweak it, add a video, add more content, keep it up to date. So yeah, I would just try and cover various different options. I like to have videos and the text on mine in particular.
Sure. So that's it. I think we are running out of time. And before we wrap up, I want one quick tip from each of you on what would be the best thing someone can do or a participant can do to win this contest, like right from the horse's mouth. Craig, what's one tip? And do tell the audience how they can reach you. What's the best channel, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook? What's the best way to reach you in case they want some tips?
For me, the best tip I can say to anyone is do your research, have it well structured, get the social shares and everything going. There's a number of different tips there, the stuff that we've all said, and keep it well structured. And just remember, you don't get the second chance to make a first impression. So make sure that it is, that is what I would be looking for if you're going to win the contest. I would be looking for a few different things combined to show that you've actually put the time and effort and you fully understand stuff like that. But also, if you want to get in contact with me, you can get me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Facebook's probably the best place. I don't bother too much with Twitter, but LinkedIn or Facebook's probably the best place to get me. And you can certainly ask any questions. If I can give you any tips or advice on your blog post and to help you win, then feel free to get in touch.
My one tip would be to be engaging. Start off at the beginning of the post, get to the point, but make sure that that first few paragraphs is well structured and sets the scene. Utilize one of the story types, and just be uh, be good with structure. Make sure that you have a table of contents in there. Make sure you have the different types of media, because as we said, um, everybody has different learning styles and different media consumption preferences. But be engaging is the most important thing for me. Yeah, be different. Don't make it look like you've just gone off and taken everybody else's blog post and written something up. Add your own spin that's unique. Yeah.
Great. So finally, we have to wrap up here now. And I hope the audience and all the participants have finally gotten some great tips and a direction and a focus on how to win this SEMrush India big blogging contest. So if you want to participate, you can go to bloggingcontest.semrush.com. That's bloggingcontest.semrush.com. Write a post, promote it, and win a MacBook Pro. So all the best, guys, from all of us here, and I wish you all the best again, and see you again on one of our Content Club webinars. Bye. See ya.
Bye.